All right. Let
I'm
me get
trying,
a
I'm
drink
trying to
while
be
you
like
do your
Marvel
intro.
or Warner Brother. You know, remember when they put out like the last Harry Potter movie? They split it into a bunch of movies, and you're like, come on, that could have been one movie. Same
Yeah.
thing
That was
with
one
the
book.
Avengers. This
Oh,
is the
you're gonna
second
film them
episode.
both, and then
Yeah, 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 yeah.
slick.
Like
All
that.
right, I see how you are.
All right, let's do this. Welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with Michael Aoki. And Michael, can you tell us who you are again, how you got to be our new friend?
Yeah, I've been practicing product development for 35 years, started out as a developer, and I've been an executive product manager for 15 years now.
Nice, very nice. And how do you know Brent, by the way?
Brent told part of the story in the last round, but
Yeah, we want to hear your version of it.
yeah.
God, be careful.
Okay, so I'm gonna be careful. I'm gonna look for your eye contact, Brent. I see your eyes get big, right? I'm gonna do the clap, and we're gonna cut that out.
Go ahead, Mike. Tell them how you know me.
I think we're getting our cold open for episode 2 here.
Exactly, Brent's already clap out. Cut this out. We're done. No episode 2. No, so Brent and I met, right? I was working a crazy, ridiculous work project, right? Where I just got brought onto a company to sell them, right? In the Department of Defense space, right? And it was in hazardous materials, and it was with a absolutely poorly written, and it ended up being a very interesting experience in how to not do selling a company and being brought in to do that. But how Brent and I met, which is a better story, is I was single and was frequenting a bar, and I noticed in
true.
this bar.
Wait, hold
True
on.
story.
This story is about to take hold on, I need a drink. Hold on.
Hey,
I was frequenting this bar, and I noticed this young kid who looked like he was in college, like Brent, and he would come over to the bar, and he would just check in, and he would look at everyone's faces and figure out, does anyone need anything? And if he saw someone with a funny face, he'd go over and say, hey, do you need anything? And would help him out. And then I noticed that he did the same thing over at where they were serving food, and that he was just walking around this establishment and making sure everything was running. And he wasn't just like making sure everything was running. If someone had an issue, right, he would pull them to the side and just politely talk with them and then let them go back. Or if he saw something not being done, he himself would go do it. And so I was just very impressed by Brent as he went about doing this. And then at work, we had fired a few different project managers who weren't getting agile and weren't able to handle it. And there was this project manager who had worked for me, you know, M&M is what I'll call it, the
my
gentleman I'm talking
God,
about.
this guy.
He said, Michael, I said, well, man, like, let's let these people go who reported to him, but we got to hire new ones, and that's not going to be simple in the environment we were in. And he said to me, I don't care who it is. If the person cares about what they're doing and they're trainable, I'll train them. And I said, you sure about that? And he said, yep. And that night I was in the bar watching Brent. I'm like, Brent, come over here.
He did.
His name
It was literally one of those, here's my card thing. And I almost blew him off. I literally was like, and I've never heard his version of the story, and I didn't know we were going to get into it. But he gave me his card. I contacted it out of frustration. And I think I waited a couple of weeks and was like, because when you're working in a restaurant atmosphere, and this is a million years ago, right? People give you cards all the time. You get, come work for me. Because maybe you gave them a great experience. Maybe your personality just worked. Maybe they thought that you managed the restaurant really well. Whatever it is, that you get cards all the time. And this one was IT implementation project management. And I thought, sure, I was in school and I was trying to get my MBA and do all these other things, but it didn't cross my mind that would be something that I would be interested in. And
You know what
and
they
so,
say? It's not
yeah,
what you
the rest
know,
is history.
it's who you know.
Yeah, I ended up going and working there, and that M&M person ran my ass through the ringer for 5 straight years, and I hated him. But at the end of it, it came out pretty damn good. And I remember approaching Mike one time, and I said, look, this is bullshit. I don't want to do this anymore. This guy, it makes me work around the clock. I'm here all the time. I'm doing all of his reports for the Army. I'm doing all of his work. He's
I
basically
feel like you're talking
golfing.
about me because I make you work around the clock.
What was interesting though is Mike, he turned it around on me really, really well. And I'll never forget this because he said, well, wait, and he let me finish. He let me go on and on about how I was doing all this guy's work and how I was, and this was probably a year or two into it. And in my mind, I was just ready to march. This wasn't where I wanted my career to go. For all you practitioners out there, I'm sure you've had moments like this. So I go to this SVP, Mike at the time, and I said, hey, I know you wanted me to come in here. I'm coming to you to disappoint you because this guy's making me crazy and I'm doing all of these things. And he turned it around on me. And the first thing he said was, well, let me get this straight. You now know how to write the entire schedule for the entire company in Microsoft Project. And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing all of it. Thousands of lines, man. It's driving me crazy. He goes, you write the monthly report for the Army and all of our contracts? I'm like, yeah, every damn month. It drives me nuts, man. I'm having to literally fill this out. The guy don't even read it. He goes, oh, wait, and you actually put together the project in an agile manner. And he named off all of these things. And he goes, sounds like you've acquired some great skills for your future, my friend.
Daniel-san, you've learned how to wax on and wax
You have
off.
waxed on and waxed off. And I walked out of there, but he was right. I was able
By the
to
way, if
take
you don't
those.
get that reference, go Google it, okay?
Wrong audience. You are in the wrong place. If you're not at least, I don't know, 35.
Go Google it. The original one is better than everything that came out afterwards.
It is.
Oh, whoa, man. I won't name who was in the next one, but that was terrible.
All
yeah,
right,
so
let's
there you
get
go.
back to the content of
intro.
the show. Practitioners, we love you, but you're frustrating the crap out of us, especially the ones that are adding on to the misery of why Agile doesn't work. There's a lot of practitioners out there that are frustrated. They know Agile works. They've seen it. They've practiced it. And some of them are just stuck in a rut somewhere where it's like, all right, if the rest of the company or the rest of the org or the rest of the team don't want to do it, I'll just play along so I don't be a thorn in their side. Michael, you said something in the last episode that really interested me. It's something that I hear just triggers me. It's like hitting a nerve. Pushback. Why is pushback such a bad word?
I think it's a great question. So, pushback, I think, is a bad word because confrontation is scary. What do we learn when we push back against our parents?
Right.
Oh, that's not the thing to do when we push back against parents. When people speak their truth, and it doesn't mean it's true, but their truth to power, it's scary. There's books written about it. It's a human experience, right, of the unknown. And it's one of the powers of safe and agile. And the power being that when you take a claim of, I disagree with you, what you're really saying and what you have, the experience you have to go through before you get there is, I believe that I am so right and I am so empowered myself with self-righteousness that I'm going to impose it on my leader or I'm going to impose it on a team. And that's scary because immediately they will start pushing back on your pushback. And then if you don't feel confident in what you're saying and you don't feel confident in your truth, right, whether it's right or wrong, right, if you don't feel confident in that, it's scary for you and it's scary for the team. And if you come out on the wrong side, you may start making determinations about yourself and about Agile that are untrue, right? And that may stay with you in your mental state for the rest of your career. And then you start your next one of, I'm doing Agile, but I know Agile sucks, right? Because we know that's what
How
we
many
talk
times
about.
we heard
But
that?
over here, we
Yeah.
don't do that. And you've all seen those people. And I just look at those people and say, oh, you wounded soul. You're like a broken heart woman hater as a man who think women were the actual problem, right? And so that's the thing that I think is a big part of why it's hard to do pushback, right? Because it requires you first to actually believe in what you're doing. And in order to believe in what you're doing and go in front of someone who believes in what they're doing, you gotta have to really work the process of how you would believe it, which is, I better make sure my sprint's in order. I better make sure that what I'm asking for is the right thing. I better check it twice. I better be right about what I'm saying. All of those things are fantastic things because it helps you. It helps your team. It helps the customer that you're trying to serve, right? And what might ultimately do it is the pushback that you go to give after you've done that work, right, may actually be the thing that changes it right? Because ultimately, when you're given pushback, you're either pushing back with a team that's resisting for some reason that may not be correct or maybe the right reason, and you get to learn something, but you're training them, you'll listen to them in that case, or you're pushing back against management, right? Who maybe it looks a little differently what they thought or what they thought was wrong, and you're having to explain to them why it's wrong, right? No one wants to hear that. However, everyone at the end of the day, when you stand up for what you say, you feel better for standing up. The team feels better because they know you're going to stand up for what you believe is right, and they just have to convince you on what's right. And then your management feels that you're in the right position because they're going to bring up hard problems. And so everyone wins from it, but you have to get out of the fear mode and you have to get into the mode where you feel confident that what you're saying is actually correct. And that takes work, and it helps everyone when you do it.
What you just said reminded me of what Brent said in the last episode about having the right mindset, the right personality for Agile. I half agree with you, Brent, is that you need the right personality to do specialty roles. What do we mean special?
And I wasn't saying that not everybody, it's more of a philosophical question in this sense. And just like the conflict resolution thing, I can admit in my own journey in the very beginning that because I was so green 20 plus years ago, I wasn't confident in
Wait,
that.
Baby Scrum Master. Hashtag Baby Scrum Master.
Baby Scrum Master. Exactly. We call it Baby Scrum Master on the show. So I was a baby Scrum Master. I was a beyond juvenile Scrum Master that I wasn't confident in my position where I was standing from. And if anyone told me that I was wrong, I was like, oh, okay, I got to go back to the book. And so I think that it's not about the personality necessarily as much as I had to evolve my personality to embrace that conflict, to say, then tell me why.
Yep.
And take the next step to be comfortable with being uncomfortable or being wrong. I'm wrong all the time, but I'm comfortable with that. And that took growth.
I think you said you're wrong and you're comfortable with that. I think what you're saying, just to clarify, and I know you well enough to say this, that you're okay with being wrong. It doesn't hurt your pride being wrong. No. However, it's those that are wrong and they dig their heels in even more, despite the fact that they know they're wrong or they're not even confident about their answer, but because they've been called out, they're going to continue digging their heels.
Wait, are we going to get political on air? Is that where you're going?
Nope. You're never going to get me to say that on camera, bastard. So, B-roll.
And scene.
I think going back to what you were saying and what Michael was saying is that I do believe Agile does take a special mindset and a special acceptance. You have to accept almost like a cult. Right? But to become specifically a specialty role in Agile, in SAFe, in Scrum, whether it be a Scrum Master, product owner, portfolio manager, RTE, you got to have the right personality to be in those roles. You don't need any personality.
Or at least malleable to adjust your personality.
Malleable to adjust. Thank you. That's a great way to put it. However, being an Agile practitioner, meaning you understand Agile, you practiced Agile, you live Agile, you work Agile, that should be applicable to everyone. You should have to be just open-minded to the fact that things are being done a little bit differently. Now, why is that important when it comes to what Michael said, what I asked Michael about the pushback? Both of you said the same thing almost. Like, you have to adjust the way you approach things. You have to adjust the way you say things. I think a lot of us, especially in the last few years, we've learned that in order for you to avoid conflict or resolve conflict, you have to choose your words appropriately. So instead of saying no, but in pushback, you say yes, and. Instead of having the pushback to say, I think that this is wrong, which I often refer to pushback as, I feel like there are two variations of it. There's emotional pushback and there's factual pushback. The emotional one was as soon as you tell someone to do something, they start saying no right away. I think it's human nature. When you start presenting us with something that's outside of our comfort zone, our first reaction is like, well, no, I don't want to do this.
However, go ahead.
However, I had to learn this the hard way. I was raised in Jersey. I wear my heart on my sleeve.
With your hands?
I'm trying to control the camera right now to tell it to stop moving around. But also, the other thing, too, is that I often joke that sometimes I stay quiet, but my face has subtitles. If I'm upset, you're going to know from my face. So I had to adjust not only that, not just as an RTE or an Agile coach or an SBC or whatever else, facts. facts are important. If I'm going to push back on something, and I think that's where pushback got the bad wording, Michael, is that the pushback is not really factual. Here's the problem, here's the risk, here's the solution. That's the proper way to do pushback. I think pushback is often being...
Well,
go ahead.
And is it appropriate? So when we get involved as practitioners, as safe practitioner consultants, as we get involved as a consultant,
Or a
and this is
practitioner
common,
consultant or a practice consultant. I think there's a difference. There's a practitioner who practices every day.
whatever it is. But I'm going to
I
use
think we're the practice consultants. That means that we're implementing the practice for those
here's the
practitioners.
scenario that is very similar in my mind, and maybe it's not for you guys, but when you get first involved and when you first show up, it's almost like showing up to the dinner table at someone else's family's house. Like you're just sitting there looking around, seeing who's in charge, what's going on. And when is it appropriate to say, maybe it's not good to eat that?
Wow. That's quite the analogy.
But it's true, right? Because you don't want to offend. You don't want to be out of line. You want to make sure that you're welcomed. You don't want to be rude. But when is the appropriate push enough? But you have a job, right? Like your job is there to do this. And you are being welcomed into them to a degree, but then you have to establish some trust, some rapport, and then you start to influence. But it feels to me, and growing up in the religious background that I did, we did these family dinner things all the time. And I can remember over and over again having that exact same feeling where I'm sitting at a dinner table with some completely different family and going, what am I supposed to be doing here?
I feel like the difference, and Michael, maybe you have your own thought on this, is that your analogy says if I'm invited over to dinner to eat, right. But what I'm hearing is that I'm invited over for dinner to critique it or fix it when I push back.
That's where I would say is you, as a consultant, right? If you're coming in as a specialist to look at and improve, right? I wouldn't say fix, right? It'd be improve.
Use a scenario, maybe dad invited you in, but brother don't like you.
You know that if it's your job to influence brother, right? Your influence needs to come from data, and the data needs to be a part. So when you're brought in by dad, you have to level set with dad. My brother's going to give me shit, not going to want me to talk, is going to tell me I'm wrong, and is going to resist everything I do. You have to level set with dad. Do I need to influence my brother, or can I give you some good...
It's not your brother, it's this other family.
So what I would say is, if I take your analogy out of it and I just talk specifically to the problem, right? As a specialist and someone who's brought in as a professional to help improve the situation, right? You have to be really clear, because everything you're doing is confrontation. Everything you're doing is pushback, whether it's pushing down, whether it's pushing up or to the side, right? Everything you're doing is a change, and you're not the person there experiencing it. So bringing the change is hard. And so I think you have to come in with really clear expectations of how you're being brought in and what your parameters are. And you have to work through some scenarios. And when you feel like you're going to answer your question, how do I know whether I sit there and wait or whether I go in with guns blazing, right? As a specialist, if you wait too long, right, and your agile, spidey senses are starting to ring, when you wait too long, right, I think you start feeling like you're selling yourself out, and you start understanding of, am I really bringing value, or am I just watching the train wreck happen, right?
Yeah,
when I actually
and before long,
it.
the clients, what did I pay you to do
So
anyway?
how do we...
But there is a time that you need to wait a little bit to get in there.
So how do we address this? Adoption versus avoidance. Whether it's that's not how we do things, or that's not the real world, or kicking... Because us specialists, we know exactly what needs to be done, and we call it out. We're trying to speak to those practitioners, first of all, the ones that are...
And not at 100% success rate, by the way. I don't want people to think out there that we are phenomenal. And I'd say we're very good at this, but at the same time, no one has a 100% success rate.
Thank you. I was just going to say that. Newsflash.
You're going to run into programs
such thing
you
as
just
100%.
can't do.
There's no such thing as 100%. 100% is what it means to you. Are you meeting your demands? Are you lowering your inefficiencies? Are you increasing your productivity? Are you increasing your morale? Do teams want to participate, or are they complaining more? That is your 100%. And you probably even then...
Absolutely. There's programs that I got them 50% there to where I would like to see them, and that's as successful as I'm going to get them. It's a win. And they're
happy.
Great.
Is there room for improvement?
They just solved world hunger.
Sure.
But in reality, you're like, yeah, you're pretty good, but
Exactly.
you're better.
They like it. Now there's room for improvement, but they're 100% better from where they were when we first started working with them.
Sure.
Right.
Let's use the example of the team that you work with that they're at 50% better. In your view, they're 50% better from where they need to be, but to them, they're 100% better.
That's an easy assessment. It's called a business agility assessment. But we have a rolling ticker on the background going,
Yeah.
yeah, you're doing pretty good.
So you're gone. Now they're coasting on their own. They're sailing. They're going through treacherous waters of whatever they're doing. And now somebody says, I don't know if we need a backlog refinement this week. Let's save it for next week. You know what? I know we're supposed
You're
to.
saying when they start to dismantle slowly.
Right. When they start saying, I know that we have stories that we're supposed to ship in singularly, right? But why don't we have a front end story and a back end story and a
I think
QA
I've seen that
story?
quite a bit. It's
Right?
interesting too. And this is where I think we started 2 years ago with this rise and fall of Agile. I think we got into that conversation. And the idea was that you would have this incline. I don't know where my camera is, but this incline where you would do, we'll just call it transformation for argument's sake for right now. You would do a ton of transformation. You would gain trust as all this new leader. And then as the team starts to kind of get, we'll use Tuckman stages. As they're in the performance stage and there's some attrition, there's some changes, there's some, tweaks, but slowly you start to see, and I can think of a program that absolutely did that. And 2 years later, they're worse than they were when I started with them.
And we know you need a strong scrum master to help a team steer the ship back where it belongs. We know you need a good RTE or a good leader to make sure that the rest of the organization or the art is being led in the right direction. But let's be honest. We've talked about personalities for the right job. Scrum masters, RTEs, sometimes folks that are a little bit more on the meeker side or they're new to their role, they get outvoted or stepped on by their peers who are the traditional practitioners. Let's put the leadership aside for a second. Let's talk about the practitioners. When I talk about leadership, I'm talking about practitioners even on the leadership side who they took a course, leading safe. Well, I know how safe works, and we should do it that way because that's my interpretation of what
I got a
learned.
certification in
Exactly.
1995.
I learned how to do it this way. So, yes,
Changing every day, folks.
the responsibility of adaptation versus avoidance. Who does that fall on? It falls on the practitioners, right? Am I wrong here?
Yeah, so I would say that the practitioners, if they don't know when to push the rails of Agile and why Agile exists and pivot from that to solving a real world problem, if they can't walk that back and forth, I don't know how they're successful. And it's not until you convince yourself, right, first, and have that experience as a practitioner to be able to share that, and then watch a team struggle and then walk them back and forth between this is why we do this process and how do we have done it this way, we probably would have seen these results versus the way we have been doing it. If you can't get there and it's all you have is this is the way I was trying to tell you how to do this, I don't know how you convince anyone.
Because
Yourself starting.
Let's be honest, and you guys can disagree with me if you feel I'm wrong.
I disagree.
I know
Yes,
you
I
are.
disagree too,
Damn
full-heartedly.
Damn you.
Vote. All right.
All right, I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Okay, we lost our host. Now this is our show, Mike. Let's go.
Exactly.
All right, so let's talk about, here's my interpretation of a lot of things. We've seen Agile at its highs, and let's be honest, right now it's at its lows.
I don't know if I'd agree with that completely. Depends on the space that you're in. I'll be the
Do you
first
feel
to
like
admit
it's
that there are some spaces that are suffering right now.
fair, but do you feel like Agile right now as high as it was maybe 3 years ago?
People get on trends, right? And SAFe was trending pretty hard for quite a few years, especially in government. I don't
Lately,
know
it's
about
been
you, Mike, but in the commercial,
I'm still certified in it. I still practice it, but I feel like it's a little bit on the dips right now.
I just got like re-upped on 6.0 3 certs, right? One was like just a safe practitioner. The other one is architect and then portfolio management, right? And what I would say is that the problem that Agile has is the same problem that AI is going to have,
Yes.
right? Which it's a tool, right? It's meant to get you there, but just because you have AI in your product or just because you have AI in your development cycle doesn't mean you're getting any more value. In fact, you may be getting less value,
Yep.
right? And it's those people who understood what to do with AI who are going to win, and those people who don't understand how AI is going to impact them who are going to lose, or who are waiting for other people to do it so they can copy them, right? The same thing is with Agile. A lot of people adopted Agile, but didn't understand what Agile
Yes.
means. And I would say that the Agile Manifesto and SAFe and other things that work around it, like pragmatic and other things, right? What I would say is the thing that they do the biggest disservice with is they start and they focus on the development. They don't focus on telling the people with the biggest problem, which is typically management, how to lead and how to have the right plan, and all of the work that it takes to develop that plan is really hard. It all presupposes that there's some magical kingdom that has the right answers and has the right direction and has the right strategy to move along. What Agile doesn't do a great job of doing is educating those people who chose to use it, which is typically leadership. It doesn't instruct them on, well, now you have a really hard time because if you have the wrong plan, guess what happens? We're
Yep.
going in the wrong direction, and Agile is going to suck for you with. The team's going to turn to you and say, we did this amazingly and pivoted every time you told us to pivot. It just isn't the right stuff. And leader, like, this is your problem and it's clear, right? The Agile, like, exposes that, which is a real problem for upper management because most of upper management, they're not great at it.
So we actually talked about that a few weeks ago, how AI is not taking away Scrum Master's job or any other Agile jobs or practices. If anything, it's exposing weaknesses. Last year, we talked about how Agile exposes where your organization, your teams need the most help. So I feel like AI is contributing to that. But I guess what I was trying to say earlier was that all these folks out there waiting, whether they're waiting for a Scrum Master to show up or an SPC or an ASPC or a master practitioner like you, Michael, or somebody like that to come in. You can fix this. You can fix this. If you know what's wrong, don't continue to swim upstreams in something that's wrong. That's basically the same thing here.
I love what Mike just said there because it's something I think we've battled with across the board, which is, this has happened for me multitudes of times, in that leadership doesn't necessarily know what they want, but they know they want what that guy has.
Right.
And they don't even know how to come near what that guy has or girl. But they will see a program that is just, and there used to be this term of the utopian project, right? And this utopian atmosphere where everyone is synchronizing and really developing great things really quickly and enjoying doing it. And it was just this wonderful environment. One of the programs that I was on was actually called, quote unquote, a utopian environment. And there was a million different companies that wanted to replicate that, but they had no concept how, from the leadership perspective, to execute that. And so I think you're right. I think that Agile is great for teams. We have SAFe for teams and all, like, teams get to learn how to work together. But there is not a very clear path of how leadership can develop and execute a plan. And I know this has been something I was doing with you 20 some years ago, trying to bring that to fruition for the team from the leadership perspective. It is very unclear. It's a muddy water for leadership to execute and bring this to fruition. All of us are even in different organizations that have been tasked to do that on behalf of leadership because they themselves aren't doing it.
There's two sides to this, what you just said. This is my own personal belief. If leadership sees that the team is struggling, but they're not doing anything to fix it, and they keep going to them for help, saying, like, we need help, leadership is going to impose what they think is the solution, which 9 out of 10 times, in my experience, that it's not always the best
Sometimes
solution.
you have a great leader, though.
That's
Get
why I said
somebody
9
that
out of 10.
really
We'll say
gets
8
it.
out of 10 times. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I'm trying to be realistic. 8 out of 10 times, leadership will give you the wrong solution because
They won't give
not
you the
as engaged.
autonomy. They'll give you strict within these parameters. That
But I
absolutely
believe you're
doesn't
going to
work.
get that autonomy and the parameters. You're going to get that autonomy if you come with not just the problem and the solution. That's why I say I think it's a two-way street. As the practitioners, as the employees, don't just come with a problem. Be creative to understand what solutions are out there that you can come up with.
You just reminded me of a story of walking in Mike's office. I used to go in his office and complain a lot, and him literally booing me out of the room until I had a solution. Don't come in my office
Exactly.
with all your problems. I'm tired of hearing about them.
Exactly.
You come to me with what
Like,
you're going to do about them.
you have to honestly go in there with just problems. You're doing yourself a disservice, in my opinion, if you go into your leadership office and say, I have a problem. I don't know how to fix it. Have you tried? I think leadership would even respect
The
the
research
fact
is
that
out there. It is.
Yeah.
Not as much, and we already argued that there is no ABCD execution for executive leadership to bring this into the.
There's no model
But
that fits everybody.
for any practitioners that are out there that are trying to implement this within their teams and sell it on, go get certified. There is a ton of toolkits and things that are in all of these different school of arts that will give you that. There is material out there, but you're right. They have to go do the work and research, and then it's there.
Hell, man.
Bring that solution with you.
12 or 13 years ago, when I was struggling with something in one of my Scrum teams, I Googled it. I saw a bunch of YouTube videos.
Now you chat GPT it, right?
There's no chat GPT back then, but now I chat GPT
It wasn't even Google when I started.
I would Google and just look up some YouTube videos, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that would work. And I would present it to the team and tell my leadership, I saw this problem. I think there's a solution that I found. Would you mind if we try it, just to try it out?
Yeah, and for you
And
young
9
kids
out of
out
10
there,
times
we
they
used to
say,
have
let's
to
go
get
ahead
a
and do
book.
it.
Have to go to the library and get a book.
Right.
You lucky SOBs out there now. It's there.
And now, 9 out of 10 times back then, when I Googled something and I tried to come up with a solution, guess what my leadership said? Okay, yeah, let's try it. If we're going to try it in a contained environment, yeah, why not?
Give you the autonomy. Yeah.
They give you the autonomy. Why? Because you at least put in the effort. A lot of leadership, as somebody who's been in a leadership position many years, whether it be a director or whether working as a program manager or whatever, if somebody comes to me with a solution, hey, great job. That means I don't have to do extra work to think for you. I have to solve your problem.
Oh, I love
Way to
that.
go.
And I have the same problem Mike talked about at the beginning of this. I have a lot of ideas. I just don't have enough of me to do them. But I love it when people come to me with ideas and solutions to that idea.
Okay, so we're all leaders here, right? Brent, I used to work for you a couple of years ago. What are you
I worked
looking
for Mike.
And you work for Mike. So I'm going to ask you both. What's your message to practitioners out there that continue to complain? This is not for us. This doesn't work in the real world. We're tired of not getting anywhere. Our morale is low. Look, what's your message to them?
I'll go first if you don't mind. For me, it's a journey. And my answer today will probably be different 10 years from now. But my answer today is exactly what we've been getting into. The materials are out there. And I get that people will get frustrated, and you're not alone. All of us have war stories. We could probably make 20 episodes of war stories on this podcast with this group alone. It will happen. You're going to get some bumps and scrapes across the board. The devil's in the detail, right? If you can go out and find, and it's there, and come up with an execution plan and a business proposition to bring to your leadership or to bring to your program or bring to anyone, 9 times out of 10, especially if you're already an engaged team member, they're going to hear it. They may critique it a little bit, and you might feel a little bit beaten up, but there's always room for improvement. And most of the team is going to adapt to that. And so my recommendation to people would be to put together a plan and be willing to execute on it.
Yeah, no, I think it's good advice. What I would say, just being 10 years past where you're at, Brent, and obviously
You don't look it, but yeah.
you're just mentioning all these gray hairs, but
It's the yellow glasses.
yeah, right. So what I would say is that as a practitioner and as someone who has to motivate through influence more than anything, up and down, and practitioners value being derived by things that they don't do, but things that they influence other people to do. The thing that is lost the most is that Agile's for the team, or that Agile's for the management, or that Agile's for better efficiency or better productivity or faster time to market. Those to me, and especially dealing on the product side and dealing on the last line, the single ringable neck as to whether the right call is made or not, right? Which has been my position for a long time. Focus it back on what Agile is really for, which is better delivery to the customer. And rally around what the real battle cry is, which isn't a better team. It's not faster development cycles. It's not better management. It's not a better plan. It's, are we solving real problems for real people at the micro level for the team or at the maximum level for the customer, right? If we're not really solving real problems, then why should anyone listen to you anyway? Stop listening to that person because they're not even working towards a worthy anything. And that to me is where you sort past culture, you sort past people's predispositions, their personality, right? You really start appealing to, can you really find something really good? And can you work with other people to solve it? Right? That's what, if when you tap into that, it doesn't matter whether you're managing up or whether you're managing down, right? When you tap into that, you're on the side of angels and you are just going to like trumpet your way into wherever it is you're going. And you're going to have the whole team behind you because you're bringing their alignment around the real problem.
So you're saying if it's the right team, it's going to just organically evolve into that and it becomes much more easier.
I actually think it's the latter. If you present the problem in the right light, which is not my upper management, it's not this, it's not that, these people will be stuck, right? And I'm dealing in healthcare right now. I've been in that space for, maybe 10 years or more. In that space, when you say it's patients, it's people's health, it's your mom maybe, that's really going to be impacted by this. When you come at it from there and you really get to why it is that we're working these hours, no one questions it. Everyone level sets, everyone internalizes it and starts moving on it. And it doesn't require it to be a life or death situation, which healthcare many times is surrounding, right? It's really just making sure that you're so aligned as the leader, whether it's a Agile coach or whether you're the Scrum master or whether you're the technical lead or whether you're whatever role you're in. If you can tap into what's making you be there and what's got you excited about it, if you can tap into that and share it,
That's right.
9 out of 10 of the problems, that problem you're talking about takes care of itself, right? Because the team starts recognizing why the process works and they start recognizing why the problem's important.
The ebb and flow. Yeah.
Yeah, the ebb and flow. And to me, that's the lost part that you can't teach. You can't put that in a book and Scrum Master can't learn that or a specialist can't learn that because it can't be taught. You have to pull that out.
So this makes me ask a question. Are we adapting to Agile or are we avoiding the work to do it correctly?
No,
Not us three, us in general as the working force.
Yeah. I would say that if you're thinking it's about a process and adapting a process, I say you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Because now you're focusing on the right things and you yourself are changing, right? And you're not feeling like you're coming with the answer to tell them what to do. You're really coming with the answer to let them understand how to find the right problem and how to work fastest to get there.
Here's the harsh truth from my perspective. First of all, practitioners, we love you. We work with you a lot and we're empath. I'm comfortable enough to say that the three of us are empaths. That means we feel your emotions, your frustrations. We celebrate your wins and your successes. So when we see you struggle through some of this, we're hurting for you and we know that you're capable of doing this. Here's the thing. These are the harsh truths. If you see it and you ignore it, you're part of the problem. Agile only works if everyone takes ownership. Not one person, not a group of people. Everyone has to take ownership. So you got to call out the real world excuse. It works in theory. Yes, it works. You've got 3 people that know at least 20 other people that know at least another 100 people, each one of them that seen it work. Don't tell us it doesn't work because we've seen it work. We've implemented it and we made it work. So stop pushing back. Push back on the right thing and push back correctly, not emotionally, factually. Ask yourself, are you adapting or are you avoiding? That's it. So please make sure that you're part of the solution, not part of the problem. And if you want to know more, comment below or let us know. Trust us, we'll put you in the right direction. Michael, how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, you can get to me on my LinkedIn, and that's probably the best way of doing it. I review that often. I think it's a great tool for business people. And I love to hear things, by the way. And I am, like, if you look on my tagline there and everything I send on my email, I am a absolute ferocious learner. That's the only thing that I know
I can agree with
really
that.
good
He
at.
is.
I learn, I listen, I try to adapt, and I will pivot on a heartbeat, right? And then I love people. So those 2 things are the biggest things. So if you reach out to me, I'll do what I can and what people have done for me. I'll help you out.
All right. Michael, any parting words for any of the listeners that we have out there?
Brent, I love you and thank you for inviting me on this. Great to catch up. But I will just say, no matter whether it's AI or ways of doing things like frameworks like SAFe and Agile, right? When you focus on the problem and when you are convinced you have the right problem and you've listened to that problem, start solutioning after that, right? And then while you're solutioning that, learn how your solution is helping you understand the problem and then just adjust to it. Adapt is, and I think you hit it on the spot. So that may be my only advice.
Brent?
Mike, it is always a pleasure, my friend. And Mike and I have these long conversations all the time, not as much as I would like to. Obviously, we're both very busy, but usually on every couple months, we'll have a 2-3 hour conversation. And so it's just a pleasure to let the audience see a perfect example of this. Mike, obviously I come to you with a lot of different types of ideas. And so I appreciate you coming on here and just synergizing with us. I mean, this is what we do this for. So if you guys liked it, more conversations with more guests coming up. We're trying to bring in all kinds of perspectives, and you're going to see a lot of that here in season 2, and then look forward to season 3.
Yeah, we're evolving, not just as Agilists, as individuals. Technology is evolving, workforce is evolving, everything around us is evolving. That means we have to evolve too as individuals. This is why we're evolving this show as well, so you understand what's coming ahead and what's holding you back from evolving. So, great perspective today. Michael, can't thank you enough for being on the show today. This was an amazing introduction, an amazing interview, and I'm glad that we broke it up into 2 episodes. Sometimes the conversations are so good, you have to break it up into 2 episodes. Brent, as always, thank you for cracking jokes.
I'm good at the outtakes. That's what I bring to the table.
All right. As you heard, we have way more to come for you in the next few weeks. We have a lot to cover. We love you all. We love practitioners. We love Scrum Masters. We love product owners, but we can see the potential for you to step up. So we are encouraging you to step up. If you like anything that you heard today, make sure you comment, share it, subscribe, like it. Let us know what you liked about today's episode. Let us know what you didn't like about today's episode. If you want to be part of the show, comment below and let us know, and we'll make sure to get in touch with you to put you on the show. All right, that will do it for us today. This is Haas, and this is Deadspin Radio.
Your influence needs to come from data, and the data needs to be a part of what's actually happening, right? And you need to be able to result and say, Jesus, okay.
Sorry.
Your hands over here, like I'm like, I thought you were doing like glam shot. I thought Brent's over here fucking doing that.
My camera is zoomed in on me, and I'm like, I can see my pores, and it's like, follow me, and like, stop doing that, back out. I did something with my hands, and it's like, it's like right here.
My problem is my mic. So,
all right. Anyway, go ahead. What were you saying?
I'll capture some of what you said earlier before we start interrupting you with Vogue.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. I'm like, is Madonna? I'm missing the soundtrack. Vogue.
Hasdana.
These all end up in our outtakes, by the way.
So I forgot what the hell I was talking about.